Hello students, we are going to start chapter 9, Respiration in Organism. In this chapter, we are going to learn what is respiration, respiratory system in animals, human beings and plants, and aerobic and anaerobic respiration. So first one is what is respiration. Before going to the respiration, first we will go with the definitions of inhalation, exhalation, breathing and then respiration. The inhalation, the taking in of oxygen rich air into our body is called as inhalation. Exhalation means giving out air which is rich in carbon dioxide, that is called exhalation. Both inhalation and exhalation collectively they are called as breathing. Breathing is inhalation and exhalation are collectively called as breathing. Respiration. The process of using oxygen to break down food to release energy, carbon dioxide and water is called as respiration. Breathing is taking in of oxygen and giving out of carbon dioxide. But after taking in the oxygen, where this oxygen goes, what does? It helps in breaking down of food. When the food is broken down in presence of oxygen, it releases energy, carbon dioxide and water. This process is called as respiration. So respiration takes place in three phases. First, external respiration. External respiration means the inhalation and exhalation of gases, that is breathing, which has done externally. Internal respiration means after taking in the oxygen should be carried into the cell and carbon dioxide from the cell should be brought out. So oxygen is taken up by the blood and carbon dioxide is brought from the cells through the blood to the lungs. So this is called as internal respiration. Then cellular respiration. The word cellular respiration means the respiration is taking place in the cell. That is what respiration takes place in the cell, that the cell breaks down the food into carbon dioxide and water in presence of oxygen. So cellular respiration means respiration taking place in the cell, that is breaking down of glucose within the cell in presence of oxygen. This is called as cellular respiration. Next, organs for breathing in the animals. We have different organs in different animals. Different animals breathe in different way. Some breathe through skin, some breathe through air holes, some breathe through gills and some through lungs. So through skin, animals like earthworm, you might have seen earthworm leeches, they also breathe. So the exchange of gases takes place through the surface of the skin. Their skin are shiny in the surface. So exchange of gases takes place through their skin. Through air holes. Some insects like grasshopper, cockroaches, they exchange the gases through the small opening called as spiracles. They have the small openings on the either side of the body which are called as spiracles. They are present on the sides of their body. Okay, they breathe through the air holes which are present on their body. Next, through gills. Aquatic animals like fishes, they have a special structure called as gills. Okay, they have a special structures called as gills on the either side of their mouth. So they take the water along with the dissolved oxygen which enters into the mouth, and the absorption of oxygen takes place through the gills. When they take the water which contains oxygen, the oxygen from the water is taken up by the gills and then they use that oxygen for the breathing. The lungs. Amphibians like frogs, they have lungs as well as they use the skin for exchange of the gases. They use the lungs when they are on the land and they use the skin when they are in the water. So they use both, they have both the process of exchange of gases, that is through skin also they can exchange, but when they are in the water, and they uses the lung when they are on the land to exchange the gases. Next, respiratory system in the humans. That is the organ for the breathing in the humans. That is respiratory system. So this is the figure in which we have the nasal cavity. Okay, then trachea, bronchi, lungs, bronchioles, alveoli, which are present at the tip of the bronchioles. So the air is inhaled through the nostril, enters the nasal cavity, and it passes through the trachea. When the air passes through the trachea, after that it enters into the bronches. Bronches are nothing but two tubes which divides the trachea, and these two tubes are connected to the lungs. The air enters in the bronchioles. From the bronchioles, it goes into the branches that is called as bronchioles. At the tip of the bronchioles, we have alveoli. Alveoli are nothing but on where the exchange of gases takes place. Means these alveoli are attached with the blood vessels. So, when you take in the oxygen, when it reaches the alveoli, the blood vessels take the oxygen from the alveoli and passes this oxygen to the cells of the body. From the cells, they take carbon dioxide, again they bring back to the alveoli and they give the carbon dioxide to them. Again this carbon dioxide passes through the bronchioles and then bronchioles, then trachea and then nasal cavity, and then it comes out from the nostril. This is the respiratory system of the human being, and this is the way how the respiration takes place. The whole respiration takes place in the respiratory system. Okay, so this is the respiratory system in the human beings. Now, mechanism of breathing. What happens when you breathe? Okay, we have a diaphragm at the base. Okay, that diaphragm also helps in the breathing. How? During inhalation, the diaphragm contracts and moves down. So first, when you are inhaling the oxygen, the first step is diaphragm contracts and it is moved down. Then the rib cage will move upward and outwards. Okay, the rib cage moves upwards and outwards. What happens when the rib cage moves upwards and outwards? The volume inside the chest cavity increases and reduces the pressure. The volume has been increased, the pressure is reduced. When the pressure inside the lungs is reduced, then the air rushes from the outside into the lungs. Okay, once again I am repeating, during inhalation the diaphragm contracts and it moves down, the rib cage moves upward and outward. Then what will happen? Volume in the chest cavity increases and reduces the pressure. When the pressure is less, automatically the air enters into the lungs. Then during exhalation, it is opposite to the inhalation. The diaphragm relax. Okay, it moves up and return to the normal position, that is dome shape. The rib cage also returns back to the normal position. This reduces the volume within the chest cavity, and the reduction of the volume increases the pressure. Thus, the air is expelled out. The opposite, if you learn inhalation, the opposite of inhalation is exhalation. Next, cellular respiration. Cellular respiration means the respirations that takes place in the cell. The cell uses oxygen to break down the food into water, carbon dioxide and energy. So how the cellular respiration takes place? The red blood cells contains a protein called as hemoglobin. So the oxygen has been gone to the alveoli. From alveoli, the blood vessels, I told you that blood vessels will take that oxygen. So blood contains a protein called as hemoglobin, which binds with the oxygen and form a compound called as oxyhemoglobin. So and you know that the blood contains hemoglobin, that is a protein substance. That RBCs contains a protein called as hemoglobin. This hemoglobin combined with the oxygen and forms oxyhemoglobin. This oxyhemoglobin is carried through the blood to the cells of to all the cells of the body. In the cells, the oxygen releases the oxyhemoglobin. Oxygen is released from the oxyhemoglobin. The cell use the oxygen to break down glucose and to form carbon dioxide, water, along with the release in the energy. So, glucose which is present in the cell, it takes up the oxygen and break down the glucose into water, carbon dioxide and energy. This is an important equation for the cellular respiration. The carbon dioxide which is given out, it again diffuses into the blood carries the carbon dioxide back to the lungs and it is expelled out through the exhalation. Next, aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Okay, aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration is nothing but when the food is broken down in the presence of oxygen. If the food is broken down in presence of oxygen, we call it as aerobic respiration. That is the general equation which we have done now. Glucose plus oxygen gives rise to carbon dioxide plus water. See, the carbon dioxide liberated and the water is used for the other cellular respiration functions. The aerobic respiration is most common type respiration exhibited by most of the organism. It is also most efficient for it is also the most efficient form of respiration. Now, the food can be broken down in the absence of oxygen also. If the food is broken down in presence of oxygen, it is called as aerobic respiration. If it is broken down in absence of oxygen, it is called as anaerobic respiration. When anaerobic respiration takes place in the organisms such as yeast and bacteria, so what happens? It changes the glucose into alcohol, carbon dioxide and water. In presence of oxygen, it gives carbon dioxide, water and energy. Now, in glucose, in absence of oxygen, it gives only alcohol, carbon dioxide, energy. No water is given out. So, this kind of respiration is called as anaerobic respiration. This respiration takes place only for short duration. In anaerobic respiration produces more energy than aerobic respiration produces more energy than anaerobic respiration. Okay, next, respiration in plants. Plant also respire. Plant also respire by taking the oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide. We know that plant also respire by taking in oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide. Leaves of most of the plants have tiny pores called stomata. The leaves, they have stomata. The stomata brings about the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide in plant cell. Guard cell on the other side of stomata regulates the opening and the closing. So, the guard cells are present on the stomata which regulates the opening and closing of stomata. So, the rate of exchange of gases in the plant is much slower than in animals. The energy released during the respiration is used by the organisms and the rest is lost by the heat. So, this is about the respiration in plants. So, till here your chapter has been completed. Thank you.